Hello friends, so today's video is going to be a list of some series I'm hoping to complete this year. I am breaking this video up into two parts. One is going to focus primarily on young adult series that I'm hoping to complete, and the other will be focusing on adult fantasy. 2021 was a year for me that I started a lot of series and I read a lot of standalones. I was not all that successful in completing series despite the fact that I definitely wanted to, so I'm hoping to change that this year. I would really like to complete a lot of my unfinished series. The first one would be An Ember in the Ashes. This one I really thought I would get around to. One, because I mentioned it in a video of series I wanted to complete that I did last year. Two, it was a Goodreads Choice Award nominee, and while I wasn't forcing myself to read sequels, I was trying to get through basically all of the young adult and adult fantasy that was a part of the nominations, so I had double the reason to complete this one, and I didn't get around to it, and I really want to, and I especially don't want to wait that much longer, otherwise I'm gonna forget a lot of the things that happened. I definitely will need to go back through and probably watch my reviews for the first ones, because I want to make sure that I have refreshed myself a little bit before diving into this last one. This is a series that I overall have enjoyed. I maybe don't love it as much as some people. Some people love the series, and a little bit I sometimes get frustrated with some of the characters, but I do like the setting, I like the stakes that have been set up, and in general I like the way that the author, while when you first start the story I definitely think that you're inclined to like certain characters and not others as much, as the series progresses you actually find yourself liking other characters instead or more than you did in the past. And I just think that a lot of what Saboteur has done in this series has been quite creative, and I really would like to see the conclusion. I'm a little scared though. I'm not sure what she's going to do to some of our characters. Next up we have Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I read the first one and quite enjoyed it. You follow two different characters who they definitely rely on potentially harming the other character to protect someone else they care about. They don't know each other at the start of the story, and when they do meet and they do get to know each other, they then have to make this decision of whether or not they want to go through with the plans or the deals that they have made that would involve hurting this other person. The stakes are very high though, because they don't just want to out of nowhere hurt the other person. They have very realistic reasons for wanting to go through with whatever various plan there is. I enjoyed the first one, and I want to read the second one. I'm a little nervous because I've seen some people enjoy the first one quite a lot more than the second, and sometimes I don't end up having the popular opinion, so maybe I'll feel differently. But it is just a duology, and I am hoping to get around to the second one this year. Next up we have Skyhunter by Marie Lu. I thought for sure that I would get around to reading the second one. I enjoyed the first one, and Marie Lu, I have read quite a few of her books at this point, and I'm always impressed with her creativity. I think that she showed her creativity a lot in this series. There's some aspects to it that feel familiar, and then she does her own thing with it, and I think she's great at that. This particular story follows this one area that's barely clinging to their own independence. This group that they are in opposition to has the ability to control these monsters and use them against our main character and their people. The stakes are very, very high as a result, and our main character, she's somebody who is actually from a place that is not really, the people from this place are not respected in the area that she is in now. So she's kind of an outcast, even in an area that is already barely hanging on, but they fight for this area anyway, because at this point it's the only place that has provided them with a home. And there's another character that gets introduced later that sort of potentially might give them the answers to a lot of things that would allow them to fight back a lot better. I don't know that I enjoyed it quite as much as some of the other things I've read by Marie Lu, but I liked it, and I want to know what happens in that second book. Next up we have Raybearer. This is one that I really enjoyed, and I had every intention of reading that sequel, and it just got away from me. So like An Ember in the Ashes, I thought I was for sure going to pick this up in 2021, but Raybearer really took me by surprise. I think that it goes into a lot of things that I wasn't expecting, and where a lot of YA fantasy there's a big emphasis on the romance, I actually think this one puts a little bit more emphasis in found family and friendships, and also just the difficult relationships between parental figures. There is some romance in the story, but it's very much a subplot and I think comes second to the found family and friendships. Our main character is somebody who has been forced by her mother and some magic that her mother has some control over. Our main character is now supposed to fulfill this quest of murdering this other person, and she doesn't want to murder this person, and she does get very close to them, and she comes to care very much about them, and she does not want to hurt them, and so she's trying to find a way around this. She's trying to find a way to fight the magic that shouldn't be able to be fought up against. And then as the story progresses, you see a lot of things go on that were a lot more intense than I was expecting. Like I said, it dives into some things that I was surprised by, and the author does it in a way that's somewhat subtle. And you're more so looking at the way people come out of difficult circumstances and what it does to them or how it affects them. And I was just really impressed by that. So this is definitely one that I really want to read the sequel, and I really want to see how the whole story wraps up. After that, we have Six Crimson Cranes. I believe this is projected to be a duology, so the second one's not yet out, but I'm very excited for the sequel. The first one follows a character who, at the beginning of the story, there's a curse placed on her, and for every word she speaks, one of her 6 brothers will die. So she now has no means of communicating with other people, aside from perhaps writing or something like that. But the curse also impacts her ability to articulate what has transpired, so she's not even allowed to let people know about this curse. So she can't even use writing as an option to convey her situation. So she is trying to, without the ability to speak or to inform anyone, and also having been cast out of her home, she is trying to find a way to break the curse and get back to her home. I thought this book was precious. It doesn't sound like it would be precious based off of that synopsis, but it's so sweet and it's so heartwarming. I always describe it as a Disney movie in a book. It's the kind of book that I feel like would be so fun to read with maybe a child that's in your life, whether it be your own child or a niece or nephew or whatever the case may be. I can just see Buddy reading this with a kid being so cute. I want there to be a sweet movie of this. I loved our main character. I love the romantic subplot, and I can't wait. There's also what I'm going to call an animal companion that is very precious also, and it was just such a fun story. I can't wait to see the second one, especially because there is a tie-in between a character from Elizabeth Lim's other series that I believe is going to pop up in the second one, and I'm excited for that. I just think it's fun when you get these little Easter eggs. Next up would be These Hollow Vows. This is another one that the sequel's not yet out. It's projected to be a duology, if I'm not mistaken. And this one is not the most original. It follows a character who, in order to try to save her sister, ends up going to the Fae land. She has no desire to go there. She thinks the Fae are somewhat responsible for a lot of her problems and a lot of problems affecting human beings in general. But she goes there to try and help her sister. Many of the Fae are tricksters. And there ends up being sort of this love triangle between her, one Fae that seems like the Prince Charming type, and one Fae that seems like the bad boy type. And they even have the physical descriptions. Just think about what the bad boy would look like and think about what the more Prince Charming-like character would look like. And you got it. That's what they look like. And I know it's super tropey, but I thought there was just enough to it that made it unique enough that I was like, okay, I'm not always sure where we're going with this, so that's good. And also, it's so angsty. And it was just, I enjoyed it. I had so much fun with it. And every now and then, you need those angsty love triangle-y books. Really quick, when I was filming this video, at the time, the cover for Fury Song hadn't been released yet, and it has officially been released. So I'm just throwing in really quick, this is my #1 series for YA books that I'm planning to finish this year. 100% will be reading as soon as it comes out. I love this series. It's so good, but you've all heard me talk about it enough, so I don't need to elaborate too much now. Last on the list, we have These Violent Delights. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling / I always say West Side Story because it follows 2 gangs. It takes place in 1920 Shanghai, and one gang would be the Chinese gang and one gang would be a Russian gang, and they are kind of going head to head against each other. So I appreciated having this bigger cast of characters. I wasn't expecting that. I thought the romantic aspects of the story, seeing as a Romeo and Juliet retelling, were going to be a lot more prominent. They weren't as much as I thought they would be. It's so much more about the reason why these characters have to come together to protect their own gangs, and that would be this illness that is really fast, it's running rampant, and it is very violent. So they're trying to do what they can to find a cure, to help people to not have somebody they care about get whatever this is, trying to figure out what this even is. And I quite liked the first one. And there is a pretty intense cliffhanger at the end. Let me know what YA series you're hoping to finish this year. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later.